What's up, guys? You catch me in chill mode right now. Got the hat off, got the little exercise shirt on. Well, I'm always wearing exercise stuff. That's how you guys always see me. Leave a comment if you want me to change that up. I gladly will, but I'm usually in between workouts when I film these videos, so um, that's why I look like that. In any case, a while ago I did promise to do a sequel on psychological terms that people use wrongly. So I'm going to do that right now, okay? And here's a few big ones. So, bipolar disorder, that is such an overused term and it's used wrongly by anyone who's usually pointing out that someone's acting a bit erratic. That's unfair both to the people who don't have bipolar disorder and to the people who do have bipolar disorder, because it's more than just simply acting erratically. Okay, there's actually several different types of bipolar disorder, and bipolar disorder itself falls on a spectrum of depressive disorders overall. So the type of depression that does not include an episode of mania is called unipolar disorder, and someone with that might uh, be diagnosed with, clinical depression or major depressive disorder, and that comes in different types as well. So sticking with bipolar disorder is usually classified by a diagnostician uh, for someone who's experienced at least uh, one or more episodes of mania. So it doesn't even have to come with the depressive part. As long as they are experiencing some sort of mania, then they will be possibly diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Now, there are the types that also come with the depressive side of it as well. So what happens is there's sort of a waxing and waning of emotions going on. And there's different types of mania as well. You have the hypermania, where the person can feel on top of the world, and sometimes these people can do pretty good things when they're in a state of mania. Then there's more of a hypomania, where people are feeling emotional and excitable, but in a very unpleasant way. I don't know how to describe it because I've never experienced it myself, but that would be a part of bipolar disorder. But too many people use it to just talk about people acting erratically, and that's completely incorrect. So stop calling people who are acting weird bipolar. That's not what it is. Now that person might have borderline personality disorder, or I should say borderline personality, because in the DSM-5, or Diagnostic um, Statistical Manual, I think I'm saying that right. Uh, Correct me if I'm pronouncing the full length of DSM incorrectly, but in the DSM-5 manual, which is basically the Bible of psychological and psychiatric disorders, they no longer classify personality disorders as disorders anymore. Now it just falls in line with the spectrum of personality types. So, borderline personality disorder, or what it was formerly called as such, would be basically someone who might flip between, you know, normal displays of behavior, thoughts, and feelings to somewhat of a psychotic state. Again, terms like psychotic and neurotic are kind of obsolete in psychology and psychiatry, but they're still used, but they're not considered technical terms anymore. Um, I think I addressed this in the last video, but um, someone who might be called psychotic or having a psychosis is someone who would be suffering a severe mental illness, and part of that being a psychosis is that they don't realize that they're suffering a psychosis. Whereas someone who's being neurotic or experiencing a neurosis is someone who's having a mild to moderate mental illness, and usually they are aware of such, which is even more distressing because they know they're going into these types of psychological states, but they find themselves not able to do anything about it. So borderline personality will fit somewhere in between that. Okay. But again, I'm not sure if that would be seen itself as a disorder anymore and more of an extreme personality type, which can just be a matter of semantics, but it does matter because once you see something as a disorder, as opposed to just being along a normal spectrum of personality and behavior, then it would be something that you might need psychoactive treatment for, which means drugs and intensive psychological therapy. Okay. So sometimes, again, when people are talking about bipolar people, you're just talking about someone who might be acting erratic at the moment, which we all do sometimes, or someone who may be experiencing a borderline personality. So we'll see. Another thing is calling everything relating to people who are quite meticulous about things as OCD. Stop saying that. People who suffer OCD have serious issues, and it can be really heartbreaking. Like, to the point that they will lose jobs, suffer in their relationships and personal lives. It's not just a matter of someone who keeps making someone who's making sure that their kitchen is spotless, or that they keep making sure that their shirt is free of wrinkles. I don't do that. Stuff like that. Uh, the obsolete term used to be called anal retentive, but again, OCD sufferers, obsessive compulsive disorder, is a serious clinical problem, and it's belittling to call people OCD just because they're meticulous about things to the folks who actually suffer OCD, and it's a serious problem. Okay, stop saying that. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Seriously. On that line, as I was talking about bipolar disorder, let's get to major depressive disorder or clinical depression. That's something that I've suffered and maybe still do, because it's not something that actually goes away, but it's something that becomes manageable. I've suffered clinical depression off and on since I was 13, and it manifests itself differently in children and adolescents, younger adolescents at least, towards than later adolescents and adults. It can show off as sort of a defiance with authority and stuff like that, because it's more internalized and kids aren't in touch with their feelings to know how to express that sort of the sort of thoughts and feelings that they have going through them. But it's really unfair when people just call someone being sad, being depressed. Stop saying that dumb shit. Stop it. Stop calling someone being sad depression. Everyone has lulls in their lives. Everyone experiences sadness. That is not depression. Depression is something that can cause people to want to kill themselves, okay? Even when they're on treatment, because the problem with psychoactive medication is that it's not very precise, because we still don't know enough about neuropsychology, okay, and neurology to know how to have pinpoint accuracy with our medication the same way we do with other parts of the body, like our lungs, hearts, and livers, and so forth. Throwing psychoactive medication at psychiatric problems can be a bit scattershot, and then we hope it hits the target en route to everything else is hitting. Okay, so stop saying someone being sad is depressed. It's not the same thing. And stop telling people to just be happy. Literally, if anyone can just be happy, then it would be no need for counseling, because one of the most common reasons people come to counseling is for major depressive disorders and maybe other problems to go along with it. Stop telling people just buck up. That's not depression. Okay. And I want to double down on that. Stop saying that dumb shit. Depression is a serious clinical disorder that can cause many people to want to kill themselves, and many people have or have tried. If they could simply just be happy just by sheer willpower, they would, but they cannot. And it can be very resistant to medication and therapy, the more severe forms. So much so that now they've reintroduced electroshock therapy in a minor form than it was in the past, mind you. But for some folks, their last resort to being able to manage their depression is actually ECT, or electroconvulsive therapy. So it is a very serious disorder. It's not something that's just in their head. Shut the fuck up. If you think that, shut up. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Okay. And lastly, I want to get into to lighten things up. Thinking about stuff like Asperger syndrome and stuff like that. We need to stop calling those sorts of things a spectrum, maybe, because there is some folks in the psychological community that don't think that's a spectrum. Okay, let's not do that.